everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Violet and this is Violet Tries Painting. In today's video we're going to be doing something quite differently than what I normally showcase on this channel, which is basically makeup. Today I'm going to be talking about books, so if that's your thing, keep on watching. So as of filming this, I have recently gotten back into reading, and this time since I am back into it, there has been some books I read in the past. There's a book I just recently finished, there's a book that I'm currently reading, and I kind of just want to talk about it, which is called The Midnight Witness by Sarah Platel. She is a Dutch book writer, I believe, or author, so this had to be translated into English. The book, the synopsis on the back says, a young woman is found strangled in a park, and a male journalist has been killed in the backyard of the Royal Hotel in Copenhagen. Detective Louis Rick is put on the case of the young girl, but very soon becomes entangled in solving the other homicide too. When it turns out her best friend, journalist Camilla Lind, knew the murdered man, Louis tries to keep her friend from getting too involved. But Camilla's never been one to miss out on an interesting story. And this time, Camilla may have gone too far. Emotionally riveting and filled with unexpected twists, The Midnight Witness is a tour de force from international phenomenon Sarah Platel. So, this was my first book and first introduction to Sarah Platel. Heard of her. I don't really follow a lot of book authors or books or anything like that in general. I could tell you more about makeup and makeup brands and products and stuff than I can books, but since I'm getting back into books, I've had this stashed away to read and I never got around to it. The reason why this book and the book cover intrigued me a lot is because obviously the title says The Midnight Witness. In the back of it is talking about a detective. That's probably the two things that intrigue me the most because it reminds me a lot of Law and Order, crime shows, and that sort of like aspect to what I regularly, watch or am interested in. And then the cover also just is like a young woman walking through a park at night alone. So you're like, oh god, that is a recipe for disaster. But this also kind of reminds me of an old Netflix show called The Killing. But I enjoyed it. I think the writing is very well done. There's not a lot of fluff into it. There's not a lot of like side information that we don't really care about or getting sidetracked of a different case. This really does focus on the young woman who was murdered, the journalist who was murdered. It has the points of view from Detective Rick, also from Camilla, so you kind of see both sides to it. I liked the side of detective more than I did the journalist. I feel like having that point of view from Camilla, in my opinion, I didn't really think it was necessary. There wasn't really a lot on her side that I felt kind of added to the story. I mean, in some parts there was. There is no spoilers. I try not to. This definitely took, I want to say, a couple of chapters, maybe like by chapter 5, or by chapter 6 or something like that. It didn't take that long, but it definitely kind of needed a little bit of push to kind of get the story coming along. Definitely there was parts to it where I was like, wow, what? There's definitely a time where I was like, oh my god, I'm tense for these characters. So there was definitely like an up and down roller coaster enjoyment out of this. Overall, this was good. There is 2 other books to this series, and then there's another trilogy that I'm interested in from Sarah as well, and also the ending of this, a little disappointed. I have more questions than answers, and I wasn't a fan of how it ended as well. It is called The Wife Between Us, and it's by Greer Hendrick and Sarah Pekkanen. This is described, I believe, as a psychological thriller. The synopsis on this doesn't really leave much, so it really has you thinking. It says, when you read this book, you will make many assumptions. You will assume you are reading about a jealous ex-wife. You will assume she is obsessed with her replacement, a beautiful younger woman who is about to marry the man they both love. You will assume you know the anatomy of this tangled love triangle. Assume nothing. Twisted and deliciously chilling, The Wife Between Us definitely explores the hidden complexities of marriage and the dangerous truths we ignore in the name of love. Read between the lines. And this book, like I mentioned, I'm a third of the way. So I am part 2, I'm at like page 147, and I have already read this much in the book. So I will talk about just that first part, because I just finished the end of part 1 a couple of hours ago. And I was like, I left my head scratching and confused and like questioning everything I had just read, everything that I had just learned. And I'm like, so did I assume wrong? Like it says, am I judging too quickly? Am I like definitely not getting all of the information? I definitely thought I was. I think I'm still in this area, so I don't know if it's true or not. But I'm still feeling like I'm reading about a jealous ex-wife and an obsession from the ex-wife. And like, so basically what I know so far, and there's no spoilers. Basically, where I'm at in part 1 is that I've been introduced to Vanessa, who was once married to, well, Vanessa is a much older lady, so probably around her mid-30s. So Vanessa was once married, I think, for 7 years, but they've been together for 10 years with her ex-husband, Richard Thompson. And she finds out that he is remarrying pretty quickly to a younger woman who's 27, a blonde, her as Nellie. So in the first part, we learn of those two. We have back and forth point of views. So I think it's every odd chapter, I believe, is Nellie, and every even chapter is Vanessa's point of view. So it kind of gives you like backstories of like little bits of backstory, but also like what goes on in the current situation. We know that Vanessa is living with her aunt Charlotte, because on Nellie's side, who she's living with a roommate named Samantha, who they're very close, and she's coming soon to be moving out because she's going to be marrying Richard and moving in with him. So I'm not really going to spoil anything. I'm not really going to say much of anything, but I'm very intrigued in part 2. Like I mentioned in the beginning, there's also 2 books that I read like 4 years ago. I vaguely remember them and what goes on in them, but I remember enough based on my review on Goodreads. Crooked River by Valerie Geary, which is also, all of these authors are new to me, all of these books are new to me. Well, not new now, but I plan on rereading this because I do need a refresher. But basically the back says, still grieving the sudden death of their mother, Sam McAllister and her younger sister Ollie moved from the comforts of Eugene to rural Oregon to live in a meadow in a teepee under the stars with Bear, their beekeeper father. But soon after they arrive, a young woman is found dead floating in Crooked River, and the police arrest their eccentric father for the murder. 15-year-old Sam knows that Bear is not a killer, even though the evidence points to his guilt. Sam embarks on a desperate hunt to save him and keep her damaged family together. Ollie, too, knows that Bear is innocent, and the Shimmering have told her so. One followed her home from her mom's funeral and refuses to leave. Now another is following Sam. Both spirits warn Ollie the real killer is out there, closer and more dangerous than either girl can imagine. So this book, I do remember, it was painfully slow. I want to say that by like maybe around this part of the book, like this much, the story was getting interesting. I think I remember that much. But overall, this book was good. I think the writing was great. The author really paints the picture of where you're at, of where you're going, of who you're reading the point of view from. It is definitely another back and forth point of view of Sam and Ollie. I don't remember the ending. I think I didn't like the ending. I think that I was I don't know if I was confused, or if I didn't quite get it, or I needed just maybe more information. But I don't think that I expected the ending. I was very shocked at what I was finding out. I remember that much. But I definitely do want to give this another read to give my opinion and refresh my memory. But yeah, I think the ending was very like, what the? So, and another book I had read was called The Dead Girl in 2A by Carter Wilson. This one says, this flight will take them somewhere they never expected to go. Jake Buchanan knows the woman sitting next to him on his business flight to Denver. He just can't figure out how he knows her. Clara Stowe isn't in Jake's line of work and didn't go to college with him. They have nearly nothing in common apart from a deep and shared certainty that they've met before. As their airplane conversation deepens, both struggle to figure out what circumstances could have possibly brought them together. Then, in a revelation that sends Jake reeling, Clara admits she's traveling to the Colorado mountains to kill herself, and she disappears into the crowded airport immediately after landing. The Dead Girl in 2A is the story of what happens to Jake and Clara after they get off that plane, and the manipulative figure who has brought them together decades after they first met. Intensely creepy, beautifully written, and full of Carter Wilson's signature "Who Can You Trust" paranoia. This is a psychological thriller unlike any you've ever read. And this book is a big old hefty one too. Now this one, I don't remember much of the like beginning to like almost end. I honestly, like, it is hard. I remember how the two are connected. I remember a little bit about the end. I don't remember much. If I liked both characters, if I didn't like the characters. But this, I honestly, I don't even remember, like, does the author paint the picture very well? Does it, give us good storytelling, good writing, not a lot of fluff pieces? I can't really speak to that. So this one's definitely one I have to reread, but I do know the ending really messed with my brain. I was like, what in the actual hell? Why do people do this? Like, what is the purpose of this? Why did they do this? And like, it was just a very like, what in the actual, like, it's a I guess you could say it's a plot twist in a way. But yeah, this book was so good. I remember when I finished it, I left it on my dresser. I kept looking back at it like, you really messed with me. But yeah, I mean, I definitely would recommend this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this different video. Let me know if you read books. What book are you reading? What was your favorite? Have you read any this year? Just anything and everything in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. And as always, have an awesome rest of your day and or week. And I will see you in my next one. Bye bye, guys.